guys, here we are, Long Haul Larry, running with Big Blue, coming into Memphis, Tennessee. It is 12:25 p.m., 95 degrees. We're just running along, making some miles. Everything is good. Everything is good. Comes a black car, boy. He's in the Indy 500. Wow. Here he comes, up on my right. Man, he did some zigging and zagging through some trucks back there. He's in a hurry. He needs to stick a sign on the back of that windshield. Ooh, bumpy. He needs to stick a sign. Come on there, Bumps. Let's settle down here. Once you start that, it takes a little bit for it to calm down. But he needs to put a sign on the back of the window that says pregnant, on the way to the hospital to deliver a child or something like that. Pregnant woman on board. That's what I was trying to think of. You can see over on the left there. There's the Bass Pro Shop. I have no idea why they made it look like a pyramid. Is it Egyptian style fishing gear in there? I don't really know. I'm not really understanding the whole pyramid theme there. On your right, there's the downtown. And we are in Tennessee. Goodbye, Arkansas. Hello, Tennessee. You guys have been asking about my time with Swift Transportation and wanting to know about some stories about Swift. So let me go through what my time was with that Swift, what I think about Swift, and why is everybody always picking on Swift? Well, it was about 19 years ago. I was an owner of a Hobbytown USA. I was a part owner. I had a partner. Any advice that I could give out there to anyone? Do not go into business with a partner. It's just not a wise idea. Well, as it ended up, I'm editing it out because it got a little bit longer. But basically, I was a Hobbytown. I owned a hobby store. I was sitting at home, and John from JBT Travels came over, and we were talking, and he was like, hey, what are you going to do now? You know, open a different hobby store? Couldn't do it. I was under contract. I wouldn't be able to open another hobby store. Another hobby store, I couldn't do it for 3 years. So I couldn't do that. I said, I don't really know what I'm going to do, right now. So he was like, hey, become a truck driver. And he had been driving for a couple of years. And I was like, yeah, I've been around trucks, My brothers drove trucks for a few years. And I actually have driven their trucks a little bit when I was younger. I was 14. Statute of limitations. So I've been around them. So I thought, okay, I don't know. And then John was like, well, hey, I'm taking this load over like tomorrow or next day or whatever to Ohio. He goes, and then I'm coming right back. He goes, come do a ride along with me and see if you're interested. All right, I wasn't doing anything. I thought, yeah, I'll go for a ride along. So I went along with him. He picked me up. We took off, and we were running down, and this is the part that John always talks about. He says he taught me how to shift. John didn't teach me how to shift. All John wanted to do was hold my hand. Okay? driving down towards Chicago, I think it was, and he was talking about shifting. And I said, yeah, I've driven them before, but I've never really shifted. My brothers used to pick me up, and when they were really tired and they'd have to run, they would pick me up, and basically they'd get me going down the road, and then they'd jump in the bug and go to sleep. I would jump over here as the truck's rolling down the road, and I would drive, I'd steer, and they'd be like, yeah, if you got to slow down, just use the brake, and pull over to the side of the road. And they'd try to get a few hours sleep here and there. And so he's like, oh yeah, I just got to shift. And he's showing me, he's going up and down, showing me the shifting pattern. I'm like, okay. And he goes, well, here, put your hand on here. It's like, I put my hand, I was sitting over in the passenger seat. I put my hand on there. And then John, he puts his hand on over the top of my hand. I was like, awkward. And he's like, and then he would like shift on the ninth, and then he would shift up to the 10th. He's like, yeah, you see that? I'm like, yeah, we're cool. Yeah, give me my hand back. And then we drove, and then we got down past Chicago. More statute of limitations. He put the cruise on, and he jumped up and said, get over here. And I jumped over, and I was driving. And John crawled in the bunk, and he went to sleep all the way across Indiana and Ohio. And I ground the gears, and I wasn't very good at that point. And we came back, and he said, well, what do you think? I said, well, it was okay. I says, he's talking about money and everything else, and I'm like, yeah, there's decent money in it. I says, yeah, I can give that a try and see what I think about it. I said, I don't know where I get my CDL license and all this. And John was like, well, there's a couple ways to do that. He goes, but if you call up like Swift, he goes, they'll actually send you to school, pay for the whole deal, everything else, will hire you right off the street. So, okay. So I call up Swift, talk to them on the phone. They're like, you got a good driving history? I said, yeah. I says, I got a good history. And they're like, no DWIs? I'm like, nope. They said, well, then you're hired. That was the extent of it. And they said, okay, and the terminal that they hired me out of was up in Appleton, Wisconsin. So they didn't have a driving school. Swift didn't have their own driving school at that point. So they decided there is a truck driving school up there called Appleton, the Marine Park place, not the Marine Park, but it's a tech college. And they said, go on up there, and we're going to put you in their school, but it's only going to be a 2-week school, and this is just to help you get your driver's license, get your CDL. And then once you're done with that, then you go through a training program with us. I said, okay, cool. So I showed up for the school, and it was pretty cool. There was like a whole skid pad out there, this whole training course and everything. I thought, pretty cool place. So basically it was like, I don't know, maybe 3-4 days of like just classroom stuff and everything else. And they would take you out and mess around with you out in the yard a little bit. And then after that, then I met a really good friend of mine. I met him there. And we were kind of tagged up together. And he was a Wisconsin boy and farm boy and stuff, so we kind of hit it off. And we went out and we were running. And after a couple days, then they started putting us out on the road, and we'd be driving all around Appleton area and stuff. And we did all that. At the end of the week, the instructor was like, both of you guys, get your license. We're ready to go. He said, hey, both of you guys are ready. And I was like, okay. So we took our driving test, and we both passed, no problem. They had a rule there, and if you got 100% on your driving test, if you got 100%, you had to buy donuts for everybody in the school, everybody in the truck driving program. And so we went out for our driving test, and we did this, and my buddy did it first. He was the first driver. I was in the back, and we went and did our whole test and everything. We were going around town, and as we were doing the test, the instructor said this, hey, if you guys get 100, you got to buy donuts for everybody. oh. And all of a sudden my buddy was about ready to make a right turn. And so as he was making the right turn, he was looking, and I could see him trying to look at something, figure something out. And all of a sudden he kind of turned a little bit too soon. I noticed it. And his trailer cut the corner, and it hit the curb and went up over the curb a little bit. And the instructor goes, "Oh, he hit the curb," and he took his pen and he marked it off. And he goes, "Oh, that's a point," or whatever it was. And that was not usual for him. He was really good. And I just kind of looked at him, and he smiled. And so we got back to the school, and test completed. He passed. That's the only thing I was wrong with him. And we switched over, and he just kind of looked at me, and I didn't say anything. And I got into the driver's seat, and I took my driving test. And I was doing everything, and I had to go to that same corner. And as we came around the corner, I did the same thing. I turned just a little bit too soon, and I had my tires go up on the curb. Boom, boom, went up over the curb. And the instructor looked around, and he goes, "What's going on here?" And I said, "Man, that's a tight turn." And I kind of glanced back at the guy behind me, and he was laughing. And we got back to the school, and we both that was the only thing that we did wrong. And he's like, "Man, both of you guys were so close to getting 100%. And he goes, "We almost had donuts tomorrow." And my buddy spoke up and goes, "What do you think, we're stupid? We don't want to buy donuts." And the instructor looked at us, he goes, "You guys did that on purpose?" Both started laughing. So we got our driving test. Excellent school, okay. But then we showed up. Then it was and then the next week we just drove. That's all we did. They paired us up together because we had our test. We passed. We had our license. They just put both of us in a truck, and we just drive around Wisconsin. That's all we did, just me and him in a truck for practice. We got a lot of drive time. But then the Monday after the classes were done there, we were supposed to report to Swift. We showed up at Swift, and they had an orientation, and it was like a 3-day or something like that. I don't really remember all of it, but it was like a 3-day orientation. We went through that. Then after that, we went out into they paired us up with a trainer, and the trainer we got paired up with, me and his buddy went through this together. The two trainers they gave both of us were actually friends, and they kind of ran the same runs. They kind of ran them together because they were close friends, and both excellent guys. They were my guy especially. He was a good driver. He was a top-notch driver, patient. He was a good guy. And we paired up, and we kind of ran together. Me and my buddy and these two guys, we kind of stayed pretty close together. Once in a while, for a day or so, we might venture off away from each other, but then it would be like, hey, we're back together and kind of running the same routes. So we did this for quite a while, and it was 4 weeks we had to be in the truck. My first day, the trainer was like, going through his spiel. Hey, this is, you're being trained. Relax. Take a breath. Everything is going to be okay. This whole spiel, and basically he put me behind the wheel. He just set me behind there. He said, just ride along. Let's calm your nerves and everything else. Later in the day, he put me behind the wheel for like his last hour of driving. We only drove off of his hours for that day. And I don't know what to do here. Sorry people, I'm locked in here. There we go. Everything worked out. So then he put me behind the wheel for an hour, and he's like, "Dude, you could drive good." And I said, I went, and he goes, "What school did you go to?" And I told him, and he was like, "Yeah." He goes, "That's a good school." And he goes, okay. He goes, well, tomorrow we're going to start running off of your logbooks and mine. He goes, what we'll probably do is like 4 hours off of yours and then do my hours. I'm like, whatever. So then that's what he did for the next day. And he's like, how do you feel? I said, good. I'm ready to go. You know, I did the 4 hours, and he's like, you want to do more? And I'm like, sure. So we just kept going. And we actually started running my full logbooks and his full logbooks. And my buddy was the same way. We did the same things. And we just started running. We had to do 4 weeks. The trainer, at the end of the 4 weeks, he brought me back, and then you had to do a road test at the terminal with a tester guy. And the tester guy went up to my trainer and said, hey, do you think he's going to be ready here? My trainer's like, I don't know, man. He goes, you better flunk him. And I looked at him and like, what? What's the problem here? And he started laughing. He goes, nah, he's a really good driver. He goes, tell you the truth, I would like to keep my truck because I'm getting paid good. I'm getting a lot of miles. But we went and took the test, and both me and my buddy passed. So then what they do after that is they put you into another truck with another student that is at the same level that you are, the same point. And then the two students team up with each other, and I think it was another 4 weeks. Could have been 2, but I think it was another 4. So this is 8 weeks of total training. So me and my buddy, we joined up in the truck, and we went out, and basically we joined with our trainers because the person who was running that account liked us so much and knew that we could run. So he threw us on that account, and we were kind of running right with these guys. It was all kind of funny. And we'd sit here and talk on the CB and harass each other and stuff. It was a good time. We got done with that. We came back there. We took another driving test with a tester. And if you passed that one, then you became solo. And they talked to us, and they're like, guys, stay team up, you know, and run. And we really became close friends, and we kind of thought about it, but a truck is a small area, and even if you're a friend with the person, it's still a tight area. So we were like, nah, you know, we're gonna do the solo thing. You're gonna make less money, but I just felt like the comfort thing was better. So we went off and we did our solo adventure. And then we got taken off that account because they really needed a kind of team operation to run the miles and get everything done. So then we went strictly OTR. Me and him were OTR, Swift drivers, running across the country. We ran together for like the first day or two. They kind of put us together, but then we got split up, and me and him just kept running. And so we really did. I don't think we ever really met up again. Yeah, we did. We did meet up like a month or 2 later. We actually did, because there's a funny story about that too. But we were just running, having a good time, and I ran across the country. And Andy, a subscriber of mine, he's doing the same thing right now with Covenant. And he's been out of the truck for a while, so he has to kind of go through a little bit of a process to get back into the truck. And so what they do there is they team up people, and they have them run for 4 weeks, and then if everything is kosher, everything's good, then they'll get their own truck. So it's a rough life, and being OTR, he's been talking to me about the things that he's going through and everything. There's a lot of hardships out there doing that with a big company. One of the biggest problems is when we would get empty, say in, I don't know, someplace in California or whatever, and you go in there and you deliver a load for an unload, and it'd be like, no, you're going to drop this trailer, we don't have time to unload it, so just drop it over there. And it's like, okay, where's my empty? Oh, we don't have any empties at this moment. And it's like, what do I do? So then you call up the company, and they're like, hey, they have me drop it, they don't want to do a live unload, they have trailers, but none of them are empty, and they won't give me one. Oh, okay, no problem. I'll get back to you. And then you sit around for an hour. Then you wait back. Then they come back to you and they go, yeah, okay. to get the next load, you got to have it empty. So drive an hour this way in the opposite direction and go to this place and get it empty. And then you pull up there and there's 10 trailers in there, and you pull in, and guess what? They just told 20 Swift drivers to go to this one lot to get it empty. And so you go in there and everybody's fighting over trailer. It's a big problem. It's harsh. I got my throat is just All right, go a little better maybe. So we did that, and I did that for 6 months. I did over the road for 6 months, and my buddy did it too. And they called us in the office, both of us at the same time, and they're like, guys, we want you guys to become trainers. What it was the guy with that account that we were on with our trainers. And he's like, guys, I want you guys back in my account. And we were kind of like, yeah, that's cool, but, you know, we don't really want to team up. And he goes, well, I got an idea. You guys have both worked for 6 months. We can make you trainers. I was like, really? Hey, kind of a new truck driver. You want to make me a trainer? He's like, you're doing great. Everything's great. So he's like, yeah, become a trainer. And he talked to us about the money situation, how much we get paid. And I was like, hey, that's some good cash there, boy. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And my buddy, he said, yeah, I'll do it. And we had to take a little class to become a trainer and stuff. And so we did that. And he put us out. And we ran for, I think it was like a week. And my buddy called me up, and we both had students and stuff. And my buddy called me up, and he's like, how's it going? And I said, not too bad. I says, I got this guy. I said, he ain't too bad. And I says, you know, we're working on it. I said, but really, who am I to judge? I got 6 months of experience truck driving, you know? And he's like, man, I can't stand doing this. He goes, I can't do it. I said, well, you got to do what you got to do. So he called him up and said, I can't be a trainer. I can't deal with these people in my truck and stuff. So he got out of the training. I stayed with it. And I actually enjoyed it. I really did. I really did enjoy being a trainer. I actually, I felt good about teaching people how to do the truck driving aspect of it. And I got to meet some neat people. But I enjoyed the training part of it. And the money was not bad. I don't know why the truck's going a little slow. Make sure I don't cut this guy off. And so I had an enjoyable time with it. And so they put us on this account, and it was Sears. And we ran this for, I don't know, a couple months, whatever it was. We were doing this, and I was kind of with my trainer and another guy and stuff. I was kind of running with them. We'd see each other all the time, and, you know, have lunches and stuff together and everything. And it was a good time. And then us and my trainer said, hey, there's a new account. It's supposed to be some red run, and the money is supposed to be cool. And he goes, they're asking me to try to find enough people to do this. He goes, you want to do it? He goes, it's all live unloads. And he goes, it's going to be hard running. I said, yeah, I'm up for it. And so we got called in there, and they had this whole meeting about this account and everything. They said, we do not want anybody. It's going to be hard. You got to keep rolling, but we'll compensate you for it. You know how hard it is. So they had this meeting, and then afterwards they said, don't give us a decision now. Take a couple days, message your manager about this, and let him know, because we gotta make sure you're good on this, because we gotta have some quality people. Yeah, let's do it. So I did it. My trainer did. His buddy decided not to. There was, I think, about half a dozen of us that went on this account. And it was a bread account. And we we ran, and you would have to, that truck would have to be moving for around 22 hours a day. You couldn't stop that truck from moving. It was tight. And they actually, you had to be a trainer to do it or a team operation. And what they did with us, because we were trainers, we couldn't have a student come in that was difficult to train or couldn't drive a full shift and everything else. So they had students that had gone through their training already with another trainer, and if they were good, then instead of putting them with another student, they would put them with us, and we'd have them for 4 weeks. And we did that, and we ran and had a good time, and man, the money was awesome. I'm telling you right now, for a company driver, it was the best money I've ever made as a company driver. I would run, I had off Wednesdays and Saturdays. You got to pick 2 days, but they couldn't be together. And so everybody had to have different days off. And so those are the days I had, was Wednesdays and Saturdays. And you would just get home for a 24-hour period. That was it. So you would run this, and I would pick up loads up in Milwaukee. Or on Oconomowoc, and then I would run into Milwaukee. Would be my first stop. It would be in the middle of the night. I had a key to this warehouse. There'd be nobody there, and I would pull in there, and I would unload a couple racks of bread. And then what I would do is I would, they would have like maybe a half a rack or one rack left. Left over to be returned. So then I would put that rack into my truck. Then I would drive it down into Chicago. And down in Chicago, I had 3 stops just like that. You'd unload some, load up a little bit. And also the empty racks too. And then once I got out of Chicago, then I would run down to Gary. And then what I would do is I would switch over with my student. And then I would have my student drive from Gary down to Kentucky, down to Louisville. And that was my final stop. And then I would be able to crawl in the back and go to sleep. And then when I got down there, I would have to wake up, help him back into the driveway, and then do all the unload and reload. And then I would crawl back in the bunk, go back to sleep. He would drive back up to Chicago. And it had a yard right in Gary. And we'd run into the yard. We'd both jump up. We'd take a quick shower. I would jump behind the wheel. He would jump in the back. I would run all the way up Oconomowoc, do the offloads, the switch around the trailers, and start the whole process again. You had to run this hard. It was good money though. I would average out about $24.75 a week. That is good money for a company driver. So I was doing well. Did that for almost 2 years there, the time I was there. I was almost there for 2 years. And what happened is I had some pretty crazy guys. But what happened is I had a trainee, a student, and he didn't want to wake me up. He knew I was really worn out. I was tired. After a few days of this schedule, I would get pretty tired. So he didn't wake me up, and he kept driving. And we got up to this town or whatever that we would come into, and it was a speed trap. He didn't know it was there because he would always be sleeping when I go through there. And you would come up, and you come over this hill, and when you got just before the crest of the hill, it would say reduced speed ahead, or I would say like 35 miles an hour, and a little arrow pointing up ahead. And then you come up over the hill, and as soon as you crested the hill, bam, it was 35. I mean, it was maybe 200 feet from the reduced sign to where the speed limit sign was. And then there was a cemetery and a driveway right there by the speed limit sign, and the police would sit right in there behind these trees. And all they did was pull the trucks over. It was a speed trap. It was so bad. Everybody knew about it, but I never told the guy about it because he was always asleep. Well, he let me asleep, and he came over the crest of that hill, saw the 35 sign, started to reduce the speed, and went past that driveway doing like 50. Next thing I know, I get woken up. Hey, Larry! And I'm like, oh, geez, and I jump up, and I'm like, what's going on? And I open up the curtains, see the lights and everything else. And I'm like, pull over. And I'm looking around, I'm like, where are we? And he told me, and I was like, dude, why'd you do this? He goes, I still had hours. I knew you were tired. I was just trying to help you out. I said, I says, you came over that hill, that speed trap. And he's like, I don't know. I came over, it was reduced speed, and bam, you guys pulled me over. So I got up into the passenger seat, buckled up quick, and the police officer came up and came out to my window and was like, hey, how's you guys doing? And I said, I'm doing great. And I have my license out, and I was telling the other guy, get your license out and everything. And the police officer was up by my window, and I was holding my license out, and I says, listen, I says, I'm a trainer for Swift. I says, he's a brand new student. I said, usually I'm driving here. I see you all the time. I know about the situation here. I says, he decided to keep driving and let me sleep a little bit. He didn't know about the little deal you got set up here. And I says, he's a brand new student, brand new truck driver. I said, come on, give us a break here. And he's like, the law's the law. And I was like, okay, Barney Fife. And as I'm saying this, here goes the police. He was just pulled over back there, and now he's like flying. But so he gave him a ticket. And once you got a speeding ticket, once your student got a speeding ticket, you couldn't be a trainer anymore for 6 months. So they called me up into the office and they told me that. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I told them the situation, and they're like, yeah, we know about that. We've had drivers get busted there. They're like, there's nothing we can do. It's company policy. And they said, you know, 6 months from now, we're gladly going to put you back as a trainer, but we have to follow the rules. I'm like, I get it. So they pulled me off of that, and I went back and over the road. And it was harsh. It was harsh going from all that money, running like I was, being home, you know, Wednesdays, Saturdays, kind of having a little schedule built up, to going back over the road, being gone for 3 weeks, and not making very good money. There was a deal that you had to work there for 2 years. And then if you did work there for 2 years, they would pay for your schooling, because that truck driving school was like $5,000. And they would actually pay the payments on it. I never saw a payment. And if you worked there for 2 years, that would complete your payoff of your schooling. And then you owed nothing. And so I worked there for about 2 years and a week. And the reduction in the pay and everything, I just couldn't take it anymore. It was just so frustrating. And plus, I had a guy a neighbor that I knew real well, and he offered me a position of local driver for actually more money than I was going to be making doing Swift over the road, and I'd be home every night. So I kind of said, okay, I'm going to quit. I called him up and said, guys, it's been fun, but I got to go. And they are like, are you kidding me? You know, all this stuff. And I said, hey, I said, without this added income, I said, it's just not me worth it driving like this. I said, I have the experience, so I can make more money out there now, and I've got an offer of this. The guy's like, I know, I understand. So I left there, and I went to work for Schwinn Trucking. What do I think about Swift? I think Swift, it has its place. I see a lot of people on YouTube especially, but truck stops, everything else. And this is not pointed at you guys, you know, my subs and stuff, when you guys make like comments, you know, watch out for Swift, or, you know, all this other stuff. That's not a big deal and everything. I don't take things personal. I don't get my feelings hurt very easily, put it that way. But I think they have their place in the country, in the trucking industry. I think they are a good company to train people. And everybody's got these issues Swift driver and he's having a hard time backing up or doing something, or he's hit a bridge, or he's hit a pole or something like this, and everybody, YouTube's full of it, and there's like just the views on those videos of showing a Swift driver doing something not right is like, oh, everybody's got to watch it. And it's like they're new drivers. That's what the company is about. The company turns around and trains new truck drivers. New drivers become truck drivers in the industry. It's what they're known for. It's kind of what their company's about. I'm not affiliated with Swift. I'm not speaking for them, but everybody knows that. They're out there to train new truck drivers. And the thing is they haul freight really cheap. And that makes people upset too. That's another reason why people don't like Swift. It's because they haul cheap freight. They try to underbid everybody. The main reason, when I worked there, I've discussed this with them, and I've got the answers to that. The reasons why they do that is because they have to have the freight for the number of drivers they have. If they said, no, we're not going to haul your freight for X amount of dollars, you have to have this much. And then they go out and maybe U.S. Express or somebody else gets it cheaper than they do. So then they don't have enough freight for all the drivers. And they have a lot of drivers. So they got to keep their drivers moving. And the other reason is that they're offset. See, I don't think a lot of people know this. Their expenses, the Swift is paid to train a truck driver. Every truck driver that Swift trains and puts out on the market saying, that driver's been trained, he's certified, he is a truck driver now. The U.S. government pays Swift transportation. That's something that a lot of people don't know. Because to help the economy stay where it is and help the economy to grow, freight has to move from point A to point B. More transit means more products are getting to the market to be able to be sold. And so the government is always saying, we need more truck drivers. We need more truck drivers. And the things the government do to the truck drivers, that's a whole other story. But that's what they do. And so they pay companies to actually train people to become truck drivers. And that's a big market with Swift. They make a lot of money doing that. So that's what Swift is about. They're a training company. And if you see a Swift driver and he's having an issue backing up, or he's hitting something, or something, understand he's new. And at some point, every truck driver was new. So you got to kind of remember that. And I see Swift drivers all the time, and I try to only, when I'm at a truck stop or I see one parked at a shipper receiver, I go up to them and I always say to them, hey Swifty, how's it going? And they always kind of look at me like, okay, because they're waiting for me to unload on them, tell them how much Swift sucks. Because I was a Swift driver and I got that from people. I got yelled at so much, I got cursed at all the time. If you had a CB in a Swift truck, you couldn't turn it on and let people know that you were in that truck. I mean, people would just scream at you like you were just the devil or something. It was amazing. And I mean, I would have, and what the really funny thing is, I'd be driving across the country. Swift trucks were governed at 60 miles an hour back then. And you'd be driving along 60 miles an hour. And so you had to keep the truck moving. You couldn't do stops. You couldn't make little pit stops and go to the bathroom. And you had to plan your day, and you had to route yourself and make sure that you got a good run in. But what was really funny is people would be coming up behind you. You see these big, trucks coming up behind, and big stacks out there, and they come racing up behind you, and you'd be in the right lane, and there's a whole left lane to pass you by, and nobody is out there, and these trucks would become roaring up on you, and they'd be yelling at you to see me, get out of my way, Swift! Swifty, you're an idiot. Get out of my way. Whoa, and they come flying by. And it's like, okay. For one thing, I wasn't in your way. And number two, you're just weird, dude. You know, what's your issue with life, you know, and Swift and stuff? It was really funny is this guy would do this, and then you whatever, and the guy would go on. And then like 2 hours later, I said, you hear somebody yelling at you on the radio, get out of my way. So when you look back, it'll be the same guy. You would see these guys 2-3 times a day. And it's like, eventually, after I did see the driver, if it was the same driver and I'd see him a couple times a day, I'd actually pick up the radio and say, you know, if you stopping at every truck stop, maybe you would actually stay ahead of me. Then they would get all that stuff because I answered back and they knew they were listening. You know, going on and on. It was just crazy how much. You know, and then there, of course, there's the age-old joke. They'd call you on the radio. Hey, Swifty! Swifty! All excited. And you get on there. Yeah, what's up? Hey! You know you got a flat wheel? You don't even know how many times I've heard this. And, of course, if it was your first time hearing it, you go, you know, really? What wheel's flat? Ah, your fifth wheel. Ha 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 ha. And then drive on by. It was just like, really? I'm happy I made your day happy for you. You know, I'm not kidding you guys. I heard that same joke. I've hundreds and hundreds of times. It was like, find something original, okay? So I don't know. I think they have a place in this trucking industry. I think the company is ran fine. So I don't have a problem with Swift. I think Swift is just fine. And every time that I see a Swift out there, I always try to say, how's it going? They're like, it's going good. Cool. I used to be a Swift driver. And they're like, really? And I'm like, oh yeah. You know, however many years ago, yeah, I used to be a Swift driver. And they're like, cool. And I'm like, hang in there, buddy. It'll be all good. I always try to cheer them up a little bit because I know everybody rags on them out there. So there you go. That is my time with Swift. I think this has gotten pretty long, so I don't think I'll tell a few stories about it. I'll tell them in the future and stuff like that. I'll tell a few stories that happened to me when I was Swift. I got some good ones. There's some good ones out there. I've seen some crazy stuff when I was on that Swift truck. But the next time you see a Swift driver, be nice. We all have to start someplace. You know, just because he's at Swift, it's not his fault. You know, and the thing is, I have met a few drivers that have been at Swift for a long time. And they have found a little niche in Swift, because you could do this with any company. When you first start, you're not going to make great money. But then after you've been there for a while, they'll say, hey, how about you come and do this? Because they want you to be happy. They want you to make more money, so you stay with them. And so certain drivers, they find certain little niches that they can stay there and become, you know. And I've met guys that have driven for Swift for 10, 15 years. And they're happy where they are. So all I got to say is be kind to Swift drivers. They ain't done nothing wrong to you. And if they hit something or do something else, go and help them. Remember, they're new. Maybe they could use a hand. So there you go. I hope that everyone out there is having themselves a great day, a great night. If they're not, you can always try again tomorrow. I'll see you guys later. I'm coming into a truck inspection and weigh station. Let's see if I get my green light. Come on, buddy. Come on. Green light, green light, green light, green light. Green light! Yay! See ya!